Open Source News. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you can be the first to see any new videos.
Joe Biden is setting a record during his first 40 days in office, but for all the wrong reasons.
Well, I'm going to ask some questions now. The press is going to leave, and I'm going to...
Welcome to Open Source News. Let's end the weekend with reporting the news and looking at what's happening, but let's do it with a little bit of levity. This illegitimacy, this fraudulency, this commander in thief weighs heavy on our heart because we saw what happened in Georgia, we saw what happened in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, and we saw the courts ignore everything. And we are in this dire situation of someone in the Oval Office who shouldn't be there. But of course, the Supreme Court failed us, continues to fail us, will not look at any of the cases. Everything is thrown out. And so we are forced to be subjected to and accept a fraudulent regime. And even just saying that is a no-no, and it is a taboo thing all across the leftist-controlled Marxist media and big tech. So, since we're in this situation and we're finishing out the week, why don't we at least have fun poking fun at it? I just showed you right there. I hope I didn't bust your ears, but that's what happened. When Joey takes questions, they cut the feed. I am BCP. This is Open Source News. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet done so, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you want to hear all my thoughts on everything, even topics that are taboo or off limits on this platform, make sure you check out my new show, bcpextras.com. We're going to start the second week of the show starting tomorrow, Monday. And we've gotten rave reviews from the people watching and subscribing to the show already. Go ahead and check us out at bcpextras.com. In the meantime, let's check out what a farce this current regime is, and their headliner is Joey. And I say headliner because his name's on the marquee, but he's not really running the band.
Thanks. So we're 45 days into the Biden presidency, and he has yet to hold a presser. At this point in past presidencies, every president, from Reagan had addressed reporters, some of them multiple times. So why the delay, and when can we expect the president to hold a press conference?
Well, first, as all of you know, the president takes questions several times a week. He took questions actually twice yesterday, which is an opportunity for the people covering the White House to ask him about whatever news is happening on any given day.
Jen Psaki, bold-faced liar, says he answers questions all the time from the press. Really? Then why are they cutting off the feed every time this happens? This was on Friday.
Well, I'm going to ask some questions now. The press is going to leave, and I'm going to get more personal with you if I can. Ask the questions. It's okay.
They cut the feed on Friday. And this is what happened on Saturday. They didn't have to cut the feed because Joe Biden just walks away and cuts the press off, ignoring them and refusing to answer questions. So one's on Friday, they cut the feed. On Saturday, he just ignores everything and walks off. There's probably someone off stage going, come here, it's bingo time, it's nap time, come here, ignore the press, don't pay them any mind, Joey, just come here. And that person probably doing that is Dr. Jill.
And to know that as tough as this moment is, days ahead, there really are. As I said before, it's never a good bet to bet against America. It's never been a good bet to bet against the American people. We are America. We're going to get there. We're going to remain the leading economy in the world and going to be the most successful economy in the world because of you, the American people. Thank you, and God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you.
For good measure, not only did Joey walk away and answer questions, the White House cut off the feed as well. And if you go over to the YouTube page of whitehouse.gov for that clip I just showed you, you'll notice a few things. There's like 5 times as many downvotes as there are of approval. You can see I added my vote to that as well. And you'll also notice that the most transparent presidency ever doesn't even let you comment on the video. Folks, this is not surreal. Unfortunately, this is so real, and I still can't believe it.
Transparency and accountability seem to be a thing of the past for the White House, as since taking office, Joe Biden has signed a record number of executive orders, proclamations, and directives, but hasn't held one formal press conference to answer for them. In January, Biden promised to address a joint session of Congress, quote, next month, February, which he may not have realized has already passed.
Perhaps Joey doesn't notice that February is gone and past, and we are now in March. Now, why would that be? Could that possibly be a commentary on his cognitive abilities or lack thereof? I'll let you decide.
The questions are piling up for President Biden, who now becomes the first president in a century to not hold a solo press conference. 43 days into his term, no Biden alone at the lectern in the White House. It took President Trump 28 days to face reporters, while President Obama took questions in 21 and President George W. Bush 34.
Biden also claimed he will hold a press conference, but that too has not happened or even been scheduled. This is quickly earning Biden the reputation of an absentee president. And I'm not just talking about the ballots.
OAN is just killing me on this segment. Perhaps Joey hasn't noticed that February's come and passed, and then he is the absentee president, not just talking about the ballots. Look, man, look, I'm not the only BCP fam. I'm not the only one talking in code here. Apparently, OAN is doing the same thing to be on this platform. As a matter of fact, at the time of this recording, I don't see that they've uploaded in over a week or two to their platform. So probably like we got a week or two ago, they got silenced for no reason. Oh yeah, for a reason. They got silenced on this platform because they're telling the truth and not accepting the official narrative about the legitimacy of this current administration. But it is what it is. And what it is we don't really know what's going on in the Biden administration. All we can say and all we can see is that someone's not home and someone's not really in charge of what's going on.
This week, Joe Biden set a 100-year record by not holding a solo press conference, something that usually happens within an administration's first 33 days. And White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says there are still no plans to do so, just as there are no plans to even schedule Biden's address to a joint session of Congress, something that traditionally happens in the month of February. But as what now seems customary for the Biden White House, the speech is being pushed off and made conditional, with Psaki now saying it is contingent on certain legislation being passed in Congress.
But the White House says there will be no speech until Biden's nearly $2 trillion stimulus bill is signed.
I don't expect that, we don't have any update on it. I don't expect that the president will be laying out the next stage of his agenda until after we get the American Rescue Plan passed, and we're certainly hopeful that we do that in the coming weeks.
We know as of this weekend on Saturday, the Senate passed their version of the bill. It's going back to the House so they can agree on a version of the bill to give over to Biden, who of course will sign it. As we can see, he'll sign anything his handlers put in front of him.
During the 2020 presidential election, the Biden campaign promised to always be transparent and open with the press. But apparently the only thing open about the Biden administration is the open-ended schedule and open-ended answers that Jen Psaki gives to the media, something her predecessor Kayleigh McEnany says is indicative of the broken chain of communication within the Biden White House.
I like Kayleigh McEnany but she's being nice here. There is no chain of command at the Biden regime because Joey's not in charge. He takes his orders from his handlers, from Barry, from whoever else is really running the show. I mean, folks, we're seeing, I know the press doesn't want to talk about it. I know the Democrats are trying to avoid the subject, even though some of them are really concerned about him having his finger on the button. But the lights are off. No one is home. He goes to bed by 7 p.m. And that's according to, was it a Time or CNN article? This is not coming from the right-leaning press. This is coming from the leftist Marxist Mockingbird media muppets, that he goes to bed at 7 p.m. And he starts his day about 8 or 9. So little Joey must get his sweep or he can't function. So this is absolutely ridiculous. Now, this is in a stark contrast to what we saw from the Trump administration.
And the great thing about being in the Trump White House was I always knew where my boss stood. Unlike other press secretaries that maybe didn't have walk-in privileges to the Oval, I could walk in at any time. I always knew where his head was at, so I didn't have to do a ton of circling back because President Trump gave a lot of access to me.
That's because Trump was his own man, and he was a leader, and he was the boss of his administration. He was the executive. With Joey, it's by committee. Jen Psaki can't go and talk to Biden because Biden isn't Biden. He is just a mouthpiece for, like I said, Barry and the rest of the people who are really running things. And what happens when you have things by committee, there's no real person in charge. That's why Jen Psaki always has to circle back.
I can circle back. I will have to circle back on that one. That's an excellent question. Oh, such an important question. We will circle back with you, and we'll circle back with you. It's an interesting question, but we'll circle back. I'm happy to circle back, but I'll have to circle back with you on it. It's a good question, but we'll circle back with you on this today. We will certainly circle back with you more directly.
Do you need proof, really, that Joey's not in charge of his own administration? Even Jen Psaki says that it's not him who decides, it's a group, it's a committee. It's who she really answers to or gets her answers from.
We made a decision internally that we weren't going to have the president propose his forward-looking agenda beyond that. Parts of his Build Back Better agenda still being determined, policies discussion still going on internally until after that bill is signed, after those checks are going out to Americans, after that vaccine money is going out, after the money is going out to schools.
What we're seeing from Joey as the fraudulent commander-in-chief is the same exact thing we saw during his campaign or his lack of campaigning during his own campaign.
Joe Biden earned the nickname Hidin' Biden and, of course, Sleepy Joe while on the campaign trail, as for the most part he stayed in his basement, calling lids often before 10 in the morning.
And I think they're protecting him. They did this during the campaign. They wisely made a decision that let the focus remain on Donald Trump, hide Joe Biden in the basement in Delaware, and it worked. And I think they've seen since the campaign ended that he's not good at the end of the day, that he's not really good on his feet, and they may be protecting him, hoping to stave off a further decline in his numbers.
Sleepy Joe Biden doesn't care about New Hampshire. I saw that. He left this state before the primary was even over. He abandoned you.
Meantime, President Trump broke records and earned the reputation as the most accessible president in history, holding up to 7 press conferences per week during the height of the pandemic, as well as taking questions from the Oval Office and South Lawn throughout his 4 years on a near daily basis.
The lack of availability of Joe Biden, and Byron York said this a little bit, is so glaring because President Trump was everywhere all the time. Tweet, 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 talk, 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 all day long, every day. President Trump couldn't walk out to Marine One without doing an extensive chopper chat with the press corps. So folks now just want to know if, who is the Edgar Bergen if Joe Biden is Charlie McCarthy, so to speak? If you like marionettes, who's pulling the strings?
I had a stand-in, a front man, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats, sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony. I'd be fine with that.
Since doing exactly the opposite of what President Trump did seems to be the modus operandi of the Biden administration, Well, they're well on their way to accomplishing their goal, as promises made, promises kept are now promises made, promises broken, in what is fast becoming the least transparent administration in American history.
I'm going to show you one last clip, because as bad as it is right now, it's really about to get worse. You can cry, but instead let's just at this moment laugh about the situation. And before I show you the last clip, let me invite you again to please hit the like button on this video. Hit subscribe and the notification bell if you want to see more of our material. And if you want to see me reporting on everything, even topics that are not to be covered here or are taboo or the mainstream media and the Democrats and the Marxists don't want you to hear about, then make sure you check out our new show at bcpextras.com. Until tomorrow, ciao and God bless. But let me show you this last clip. Don't worry, you think things are bad? They're about to get worse.
But if people are talking about that, if they're even thinking that President Biden is not capable of doing the job or shouldn't be in that position, they might want to think twice, because in terms of left-wing policy, Kamala Harris as president would be a great deal worse for the country.
Thanks for joining us on Open Source News. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on that notifications bell so you don't miss a thing.